Gentlemen, with the new trade bait board out, MJ, it's time for you to list it. Give us the top 5 players that'll have the most impact for a contending team, starting at number 5. MJ?
That's key. Impact for a contending team. Not best players, most impactful. So I'm going to start at number 5, Pavel Buchnevich of the St. Louis Blues. You want a guy who can play up and down your roster, who can play with other good players, who's been good in the playoffs, who's done some winning in his career. Pavel Buchnevich fits all those bills. And, oh, yeah, he's got a pretty attractive contract for 1 more year. So you get him not only this year, but next. He would be a nice find for any team looking for middle 6 help. Really good player. Number 4, Chris Tanev. Number 1 on our board, but number 4 for impact. Right shot, shut down defenders. They're hard to find. That's why he's in such demand. He's going to go to a good team. He's going to fetch a first-round pick, and Chris Tanev will go in the top 4 and shut players down right away. Number 3, Jakob Chychrun. I didn't know he was available. It took years to get him out of Arizona. It might take him only 1 to get him out of Ottawa. If he's available, he's never played on a good team, a team with structure and system. You get him in that kind of situation, I wonder what a guy with his physical tools could do. He'd be really good, and a good contract. Number 2, Jake Guentzel, bona fide first-line star sniper forward. Has been really good in the playoffs throughout his career, has done some winning in his career, and if you want to get an upgrade, he would be it for just about any contending team. And number 1 for me, Jacob Markstrom. I'm calling New Jersey. I'm calling LA. You want an upgrade in net for a guy who's playing really well and has for a couple months. He's got a couple more years on his contract if you want to be good for a while and will be motivated to have a great finish to his season. Could you imagine him in Jersey or him in LA or Carolina? How good that team would be with Jacob Markstrom. He's the number 1 most impactful guy, Frankie.
He would be a big-time difference maker, and you know who else would be a difference maker? Jake Guentzel. But, MJ, he has to be utilized properly. Think about it. If you're going to go out and spend the assets to get Jake Guentzel, you're going to get first-round pick, top high-end prospect, and you're going to bring him into your team, you have to put him on the first power play unit. You can't put him on the second power play unit. You have to utilize him exactly for what he is. So if you're going to spend all those assets to bring him in, he has to be a marquee player. Is he on the first power play unit in Edmonton? Is he on the first power play unit in Toronto? Like, those units have already been established. You're going to spend all those assets. You have to have him in a marquee situation where he can provide the goal scoring that he has.
So if you can't use him that way, he's not worth the price you'd have to pay. All right, I want to talk Trevor Zegras. He was also on our trade bait board. There was a recent player poll where he was voted the most overrated player in the NHL. What's your take on Zegras?
Oh, Gino, sometimes the players can be brutally honest, can't they? Now,
so you're saying they're right.
Listen, Trevor Zegras, flash and dash, really has that to his game. But when you think about really good teams and what they have already, they have Trevor Zegras, but a better version of it. And by that, I mean a player who has that kind of skill, who has that kind of upside, that offensive flair, but who can also be used in a matchup situation. That's the biggest thing that's holding Trevor Zegras back. It's not that he's not skilled. It's not that he can't make plays. It's that he has to play higher in the lineup. And when you play higher in the lineup, there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with that as far as who your matchups are. Can you play at 5-on-5 against McDavid, against Matthews, against Crosby? All these kinds of players. I'm not convinced that Trevor Zegras can have that kind of impact higher in the lineup on a good team.
Come on, Frankie. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's not his fault he's really good and fancy and gets a lot of hype, even though he's on a bad team. And yes, he's not going to go to a contending team and be a second-line center this year. But if you're a team, and there's a whole bunch of them, like Montreal Canadiens, who could use an uptick in skill, he could definitely go in there, provide that, and grow into a more mature player. I looked at the most recent few Stanley Cup winners. Like, Evgeny Kuznetsov was not a perfect player, but he was the number 2 centerman when Washington won. Phil Kessel's won 3 cups. He's not a perfect player, but he does what he does, and they managed to win. It's not like you can't win with a guy like Trevor Zegras. Reminds me when I played with Vinny Lecavalier my first year in Tampa. He was a goal scorer and a point getter and a terrible defensive player. And from his 3rd to 5th year under John Tortorella, he became a complete player. Now, I'm not saying Zegras will become Lecavalier. Probably not. But it's not like every player who's 20 is a finished product. I would be willing to roll the dice on that kind of skill if I was the GM of a lot of teams at the bottom half of this league.
If you're going to be a one-dimensional player, though, you better score more than what he's scoring. All right, we're exactly...
But you can be more than a one-dimensional player, Gino. You can grow into a two-dimensional player in the right situation. That's the key.
Yeah. This season or long-term?
I think they pulled Gino when they asked about the most overrated players.
I'm just saying you got to score more than 4 goals if all you can do is score. All right, we're exactly a month away from this year's trade deadline. We'll see how many of these names are still actually available come Trade Center on March the 8th.